Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to our community. Andy Thornton with the YMCA, and joining me today is Evan Jenkins. Evan is the Director of Business Development. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
With Manpower.
That's right.
So why don't you tell our community a little bit about yourself, Evan?
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Andy, for having me.
Absolutely.
Like you said, Director of Business Development for Manpower. And Manpower, the best way to put it, we are a company that helps people find new career opportunities.
Yeah.
And helps connect companies to their next round of employees.
Mm-hmm.
So my role, what that looks like, is aligning with our clients in the community throughout Central Illinois, all throughout the region, and finding out whether or not we can help, what that looks like, and hopefully every once in a while being a little bit of a thought leader to challenge some of their processes in order to grow and improve individually.
Yeah. So the interesting thing about your role, and I've learned a little bit about it over the last month or so as I've gotten to know you, is you advocate for the employee and the employer, right? So you're in that middle area, and it's really unique as I've gotten to know you a little more and learn about some of the access and opportunities that you have for employers to consider to help find new employees, which is a real struggle right now out there in the real world.
Yeah, absolutely is. The COVID impact definitely hit careers harder than most things, and right now it is really hard to find talent.
Yeah.
But in a lot of instances, there's opportunities that employers have and should own within their processes that really probably should use some change.
Yeah.
And use some updating. And I try to sometimes needle some of those things through LinkedIn too. I use my Dear Hiring Manager newsletter as a little bit of a platform to challenge a little bit of the status quo, because it's not just that nobody wants to work, but there's certain things that employers can do differently. And it is a bit of a balance, like you said, because we are advocating for both sides.
Yeah. And it is a new world, and employment has changed, and expectations from the employee have changed. And I'm glad that you mentioned your Dear Hiring Manager piece on LinkedIn, because it's good.
Thanks.
So anybody out there who's looking for some additional resources, look it up. Evan Jenkins, Dear Hiring Manager. It's a short, easy read.
But 1 to 2 minutes every single time.
Yeah, but it's just some quick little thought-provoking tidbits on maybe how to do things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Right.
Hopefully with a little bit of humor and not necessarily perfect.
I found humor in it.
Yeah.
I think, and that's good. Anything that makes you laugh is good, right?
Yep.
All right. So we're going to dive into the weekly winning word this week for the I've Decided community, which is openness. And we're going to talk a little bit about the 5 benefits of having an open attitude or an openness attitude. But we're also going to talk a little bit about how openness can help us in our career path development or pursuit of success in our career. And you've got some good thoughts around that. So I'm excited to get into that. So before we get started, let's just define it for ourselves and for anybody out there who's listening. Openness is defined as the quality of being honest and not hiding information or feelings, which is hard for a lot of people.
You got to pay the rent on it, right? I mean, it's something that's an evolving target and something that we always have to, it's upkeep at this point. And, I'll be 38 this summer, and it's something that I have learned to grow, to be more open, especially in the past 10, 15 years. My wife would attest to that. There's no doubt about it, but everything involves.
Yeah, that's good. So Kim wrote an article this week, as she always does, and all of you out there know, because I'm sure you read it. Sunday night, you're waiting for 6 p.m. to arrive and that thing to hit your inbox, right? And open this up and read it. But she defined 5 benefits of having an open attitude, and I think they're pretty good stuff. The first benefit is to have a clear conscience, right? So when we get everything off our chest, right, that's really kind of look like we all carry baggage. We all have challenges in our life. We all struggle. Every day is a different struggle. And when we just hold on to that stuff, it makes it really, really hard for us to be successful, right? So having a clean conscience is a great benefit of having an open mind. We're healthier.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I like to look at that as just being transparent and vulnerable. And that's such a it's hard for us adults to do.
Yeah.
And for us to realize that sometimes we need some help, and that we don't have all the answers. So, being able to say, Andy, can I lean into you on this particular topic is something that I think is a resource that people are a little bit scared sometimes to tap into. And, openness is vulnerability.
Yeah. And I think you're absolutely right. And looking at it from the other side of the table, I think people really respect it when you do open up.
Yeah.
Right. I think most people want to have deeper relationships, and it takes that. And that leads us to the second point, which is meaningful relationships. So when we're open with each other, it allows us to build trust with each other because we see more of a genuine personality or a genuine individual that we're dealing with. So when we have that openness attitude, it really allows us to have better relationships with people.
Yeah, I completely agree. And part of it too, in my experience and my growth has kind of told me that being authentic is more than just being seen as authentic.
Yeah.
And it's really just about that transparent mindset and attitude. What I like to say is that I'm not for everybody and everybody's not for me, and that's okay. And I think that is a mindset that has helped me build better relationships with people, because we may disagree on something and that's okay, but we can still have a productive conversation about that and agree to disagree and really use that and see that through.
Say that phrase again.
It's I'm not for everybody and everybody's not for me.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
I think you shared that a TikTok of somebody doing that, didn't you?
I did. I did.
Some guy walking through
I think he stole it from me. I don't know. There is a guy that I just randomly came across. He does his friendly reminders on TikTok every day, and I came across that and I was like, well, I thought that was mine. So I don't know where I posted that.
I saw it on LinkedIn. I think you shared it. I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm sure I came across it at some point, and now I'm just putting my stamp on it.
But there's a lot of truth to those few words, right? And I think we have to understand that we can't please everyone, right? Yeah. And everyone can't please us either. And so we've got to be able to kind of take a step back and just understand that that's okay.
I think if you're in a group if your peer group is one that always agrees with you, like that's not a growth. You're in the wrong group. Yeah. Exactly. And whatever the topic is, and there's just tons of topic, whether it's business, personal, politics, whatever it looks like, if you're always agreeing with your audience, then you're not learning.
Right. And
I think it's safe to say, hey, Andy, I'm glad we're talking about this, but you and I might actually see things differently.
Yeah.
So I'll listen and not listen to respond necessarily, but I'll listen with intention to learn from you.
Yeah. And I think that's great. And we've lost some of that in society a little bit too, right?
Yeah.
And we're not going to go down that rabbit hole, but that's just an important asset for all of us to have, is just to have that respect for each other and that want to learn from each other. Why do you think differently on this subject matter, right? And have that conversation. When you can do that respectfully and be open about it, your relationship's going to be stronger, even though you don't agree on everything.
Yeah. You're winning every single time.
Right. And you've got to have people around you that are going to challenge you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You can't just have a bunch of yes people. I agree. So the third benefit is it's going to give you better experiences, right? When you have an open attitude, you have deeper relationships with people, your conscience is clear, you're just going to be able to experience life differently. And you're going to have more opportunities because more people are going to want to be around you and invest in you, I think.
Yeah. When I was going through the topic today and when it paused here at Better Experiences, I kind of took a minute to play back something that I heard when I had worked for Coca-Cola several years ago. There was a vice president down in Dallas, and he said, always say yes to new experiences and follow opportunities that are there. This person had tons of opportunities. He was in Australia, he was in Great Britain, in England. So, he, at that point when he said, say yes to new experiences, because that's growth. That's something that has definitely stuck with me. I kind of try to have that mindset as often as I possibly can. I think, two of the most powerful words that we have, and the two most powerful words that we have, are yes and no.
Yeah, amen.
And sometimes no gets a lot of credit for like owning your time and being able to set your boundaries and your guidelines, but no doesn't necessarily create new experiences either, and better shared experience. So I like to try to lead with yes as often as we possibly can.
Yeah, I think that's really, I think that's good. A great way to phrase it. In those, when you look at it from the perspective of the experiences that we have in our life really define who we are as an individual.
Yeah.
Right. So the more opportunity that we have to learn and grow and experience new things, the more broad our personality is going to be, or our perspective is going to be around different subject matter. Right. So I think that is really important. And I like that. That advice that you got from your Coca-Cola manager, right?
Well, he wasn't my manager. He was somebody's manager up there. I think he was everybody's manager in the North America region, but really, that stuck.
Yeah, that's good advice. The next benefit is when you have that openness mindset, you're going to have less stress in your life, right? Because you're going to share some of your burden. And I think that's powerful.
I can think, if you're not somebody who has been challenged with your own personal openness, then I think you're probably lying to yourself, right? And I think one of the things that we talk about is that people have baggage, and there's always things that we hold on to. And for some of us, that might have at some point of our lives looked like hiding something, or avoiding a conversation that is uncomfortable, or that may put us in bad opinionated light with our peers. So, being open, being transparent, being vulnerable, being all of these things is just this full weight off of our shoulders, because when we're not, and we've all been there for one reason or another at one point in our life, but when we can truly be open and honest about things, it's just so nice and refreshing to come home and not have to worry about this, or not have to try to dodge that question, or go to work and not have to worry about this report or that email or that client.
Right. I found myself recently really challenging myself to dig a little deeper, like with my employees or with my spouse or whatever, because it's very easy for us to say, when somebody asks how you're doing, I'm doing great. Right. I'm doing great.
Check
I'm fine.
That box. That one
hey, everything's great. But a lot of times it's not.
Right.
And sometimes you just got to close the door and say, is it really?
Yeah.
Right. What can I help you with?
Yeah.
And for me, when I'm struggling with something, and I'm one of those people too that just wants to keep it inside. I want to fix it myself. I want to deal with it on my own. I don't need help. Right.
It's that old school masculine territory.
But I'm a different person when I'm like that too. I'm more agitated or angry or easily brought to anger, and that doesn't help my marriage, and it doesn't help my work life. So really challenge myself to be more honest about that. And you find that when you share your stresses, share your challenges, that there's usually somebody who's got some offer of help or solution or something that you didn't even think was there.
Yeah. And hopefully they've listened to you enough to actually be able to help you with your problem, and not unload their problems on you, because that can be
try to trump your problem.
Yeah, it's a vicious circle. Let me tell you about my time when this, and
that's nothing.
Right. Yeah. So that happens all the time with stress.
Right.
I think I ask people all the time, how's work going?
Yeah.
For me, it's how's hiring going, and for every single response, it's some form of cynicism or negativity. So, busy, right? Busy.
Right.
I don't even know what busy means, quite frankly, at this point. So, I think it's okay to talk about things, and because people are inherently good. They want to listen. They're interested in helping you out, hopefully, and it's a good thing.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
It doesn't do us any good to shut down and hold on things our own. And we know too much stress is ultimately, going to make us sick or even kill us.
Yeah.
Right. I hate to use a word like that, but it will wear us down and really create some problems in our life. So we've got to find a way to release that. And that openness attitude can do that. And then the last benefit is when we're open with others and we do all these other things that we talked about, we just have an opportunity to grow more.
Yeah.
Right. It can give us more opportunities.
Yeah.
Because of all the things that come with it, and the relationships are deeper with more people.
Right.
And those experiences and opportunities are just going to magnify themselves.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree. And that's the idea of, not everything that I say is going to be right. Mm-hmm. And I'm okay with that open opinion. And if you see it differently, I'll take that feedback. I'll take that criticism all day long. So, but you've got to be somebody who's willing to receive that.
Right. And that work on whatever those challenges may be that get brought to your attention. Right. And having that open mindset, I think, is really important. And, I come from an athletic background. I know you're involved in some athletics, and that's the most successful people in sports or in business or whatever are those that are coachable.
Right.
You have to be coachable. It means you have to take some criticism sometimes, and you have to own that. Hopefully it comes in a positive framework from somebody, but not always.
Right.
Not always.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want if you're a coach, you don't want the athlete on your team to say, "Oh, yeah, I know what I did wrong there," and just move on.
Right.
They've got to be open to listening to it, to hearing that. It's sometimes painful, right? Because we feel like we're being belittled or not good enough or not acceptable. Right. That's okay. Like fail forward at least. If you're going to fail, you could at least fail forward.
Yeah. Life isn't like we've talked about this on this show before with a lot of different guests. Life is not about the failure. It's about the response to the failure.
Oh yeah.
Right. That's where you prove your worth.
Right.
And you gain success is by learning from the failure and being different because of it.
Right. Absolutely. And it doesn't happen without trying,
And you don't always know that on your own.
Yeah.
Right. Because I don't think we like to tend to admit it very easily to ourselves.
Right.
I screwed that up. All right. So those are the 5 benefits. And I'm sure there's more, but I think that's really good conversation. Hopefully that's been helpful for those out there watching. But I wanted to pose a couple questions to you.
Sure.
Just to kind of pick your brain a little bit around this openness attitude and how you see it benefiting people in their pursuit of success in their career path and things like that. So and that's really the first question. How can a commitment to openness help us as we pursue success in our career? And looking at it through your lens of working with Manpower and bridging employers with employees, how do you think that fits in?
Well, I think, from an employee mindset, so somebody who's looking to enrich their career, how does openness play? How does that come into the discussion? I think it is just learning about new opportunities and being optimistic and curious.
Yeah.
Earlier today in Peoria, I was at a conference where they were talking about how, grade schoolers and high schoolers don't know about so many different jobs because they've never experienced it, right? So you've got to be really curious to know what the right career path is for you. And if you always find yourself saying no or turning something down or saying, well, maybe I'm not good enough or I'm not that, I don't check all of those boxes, you're going to find that you're disqualifying yourself unnecessarily for a career.
Yeah.
I would be remiss to say that I have checked every single box for all of the career experiences that I have had. And I've had some really fortunate ones. Taking a risk and saying yes and saying, well, I'm going to give it a shot and let's just see what happens out of this. I think that is something that a lot of people, when they're looking to enrich their career and looking to branch out of their current job or their current career, their current industry, that's an area that people should capitalize on more often, saying, listen, there are 6 things that are on here, could be 16 things that are on this job description that I don't have.
Right.
But if somebody's willing to talk to me, I'm open to learning and I'm capable of learning and I'm actually interested in doing it. So from that person, I think that's how openness certainly helps enrich our careers.
That's good. That's good. Thank you for sharing that. And then the second question is, looking at the spirit of openness, and when we look to, expand our network of support, whether it's personal friendships, mentorships, um, looking for a broader network of support from the professional atmosphere, however you want to define it, hire more employees, expand services. How do you think that spirit of openness really plays into helping us be successful there?
That's a really fair question, and I think a lot of the answer depends on the personality tendencies of the person,
Sure.
of somebody. Excuse me. For your introverts, that openness looks like just tackling fear and putting yourself in a situation. If it is a networking event, there's plenty. We go to them all the time here in Central Illinois, and you see people that are walking the fringes of those networking rooms because they're not comfortable making that introduction.
Right.
But just getting past the high is so liberating to so many people, and you never know what you're going to experience. You never know the type of person that you're going to actually be able to come across. You can just go and break that barrier and get over that fear for yourself. And then from the extroverted type personality person, the person who's a little bit more assertive and aggressive, openness to grow and expand just looks like, again, knowing when you might not be right, or knowing when it might be time to say, the way that I've always done things, or the way that I'm doing them right now, they're just not working, and I need help. I need to be vulnerable, and getting over that vulnerability sort of a fear. Because again, when we're not, we're just going to stay where we're at, and we're going to continue to complain about it. And in my career, what that looks like is, employers saying, well, nobody wants to work anymore.
That's frustration, right?
Yeah. And it's everybody. It's the fault of everybody but themselves.
Yeah.
And that's why I think, and I think we talked about the Dear Hiring Manager in LinkedIn earlier. And that's why I think that a lot of people are kind of responding to that in a positive way, because they're kind of right now with hiring and with jobs and career changes, and every company down the road in every single industry needs people. What we as professionals, as CEOs, as directors, need to hear is the way you're doing it is not effective today. So be open to taking certain criticisms, be open to challenging your processes. And that's where it's going to be at, because we can complain, but that's not going to get us anywhere.
Not moving us forward at all, keeping us in the
not.
rut. And it's a real struggle, as you know,
absolutely,
in that specific area. Well, this has been great. I appreciate you joining me and walking down this path with me. Hopefully those out there watching will check out your Dear Hiring Manager.
That's the shameless plug of the
newsletter.
day.
Hey, it's great. It's a great resource. People need to look it up.
Thank you. Yeah, and I enjoy doing it. It came out of frustration one day.
Yeah.
And it was a client who I saw making all the mistakes, and I just got behind my computer and I just started at it. And somebody asked me the other day, said, Evan, when are you going to run out of topics? And I said, well, when simple mistakes are going to go away. And it's just not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. I mean, no. There's always going to be challenges out there. But it's thought-provoking stuff. It's an easy read. And I find it humorous, and it's encouraging, because it does start the mind to think a little bit different. We all need to. So you're doing some good work there.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, good stuff. All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining us this month on Our Community. We look forward to seeing you next time.